Well, I've made it to my last stop for today, and I can guarantee that this one at least is open. We are just here on the university grounds in Guatemala City and heading to the museum Popol Vuh, which is the famous Mayan museum that's here. It's just up here to the left. So let's head up there and get our ticket and have a look around. So I've just made it here to Popol Vuh, which is the museum here at the university. And not sure if that's the same CBC or not, but if it is, that's pretty cool. We're going to head in here in a second. It was 45 quetzales for the fee, and then another 15 to record along the way. So I suspect that this will be a much more academic styled museum, which is pretty cool because it'll give a different perspective on some of the things that we've seen so far. They have all these little display cases set up here with, different things. And take a little walk through here and have a look and see what it's like. This is the University Francisco Marroquin, and in 1978, the collection was presented by Jorge and Ella Castillo to the university to maintain this here at this museum. And one thing is for sure, that if I ever get back into pottery again, I used to do pottery sort of as a hobby, and if I ever get back into it again, I would be building some really cool stuff inspired by what I've seen in some of these Mayan museums. Here's an example, another one here. This is another incense urn, and you can see the bright color paint that still exists on it today. Some more examples here, like some things like, female figurines, pots. This is another example of one of those roller stamps that we would see. We've seen these in other spots too, where they would use these for, marking the skin, putting like a tattoo on the arm and that type of thing, or just decorating walls, whatever. But that's we've seen those quite frequently. Here's some more examples here too of the paint in detail. So this museum looks like it's broken into sections based on different periods of time. This section here is what's identified as like the pre-classic period, so that would be the oldest, 1500 BC to 250 AD. And again, we see early examples of pottery and things that have very basic designs, more function over form, I suppose. This stuff here is from Caminalhuyo, which is where we visited yesterday to see those sites, and a lot of this stuff was brought back from that location. There's one pot there, for example, the pitcher, and some of these other designs. This mural here is a recreation from what was known as the Pinturas pyramid, and what it was a structure that was built first, and then obviously as we've seen, Mayan tended to build on top of existing structures. Well, this Pinturas pyramid was the first layer and had this beautiful paint design on it. And you can see here's a recreation of what that would have looked like at the time. So here's the original building, and then the larger pyramid built on top of it over time. One of the things I've always been most interested in with the Maya has been the calendar and the counting system that they used. It was composed of, a series of escalating layers of numbers, and the cycle that they used sort of reset every 52 years, I think it was. And there was a combination, it shows it here a little bit. Solar year was 365 days, and then they had their own cycle of 260 days. So then that complete system repeated, every 52 years. So they used a series of numbers to count the different periods of time. And so the initial date is believed to have started in 3114 BC on the European calendar. So it says here, on this date, the inscriptions commemorate mythical events enacted by the gods, extending the long count to the present. AD 2012 coincides with the ending of 13 Baktuns, marking an important period in the Mayan calendar. So if you remember all the hype around 2012 and being the end of the world and all that sort of stuff, that's all because of the Mayan counting system. This piece here is an example of that counting system, and it shows a design of it down here actually. So it starts here, you get 8 kins, which is a kin was a day, and then you go kind of right to left in sort of in a zigzag pattern. So a winals was like a 20-day period, and then a tun was a 360-day period. A katun was around 20 years. It was basically 20 tuns, so 20 365-day periods. And then a baktun here was the 20 katuns, so 20 tuns, if you can think of it that way. And so that was how they were able to calculate all the different numbers on many of the buildings, and the stela that we've seen have had these types of date systems on them to easily identify and correctly date down to the very day when these were made. Some more examples here of some pieces that they have found. This one here was Halku, which was the rain god. There was an example of a design there. The rain god was basically a human with animal traits similar to like a dragon style, had a forked tongue, and you can kind of see that here, that curled tongue on both sides coming out. This next section here at the museum is the classic period, which was from 250 to 900 AD. So this is what's considered, this is when the Maya were at their height, at their biggest, their most developed commercially, economically, culturally, all those types of things. And there's all kinds of really cool pieces in here that kind of show off how detailed and how advanced some of the designs were becoming at the time. So here's some pieces from the southern coast area. So this was again like 400 to 500 AD, and you can start to see more advanced designs, painting, carvings, and things in pottery. This one here is actually a mold figurine, and here's what the mold produced. Here's another example of another mural that was found. The original ended up being lost shortly after it was discovered, but copies were made of it at the time to ensure that they could at least be able to study the information that was provided on it. And this would have had names and dates and information with the glyphs. And here's some pieces that were found at the same temple. Here's another incense device, and they say that this is sort of almost like a Teotihuacan style design to it, which we've seen before in some cases that, even though we're a very long way from Teotihuacan, which would have been up near Mexico City, we still see its influence across the Mayan Empire, even as far south as here. And you see it here with this and other incense boxes, things like that. They even had probably, I'm going to guess, candle holders and all kinds of different things here. Really cool stuff. Again, the colors on this one, the blues and the yellows and the reds, all these colors still coming through. Some more examples here from the classic period that really show the beauty and the design level that was in these things. So you've got these beautiful pots and bowls, all heavily decorated and painted, different Mayan hieroglyphs on them, different gods and those types of things. Really, really cool stuff. So back when I was in Copan Ruinas in Honduras, and I had an amazing time there, just the place and the museum that they had and everything else. They actually had a very similar design to this of one of these Lord bats. And this is an original, it says here, that was from Copan in Honduras that would have decorated the outside of one of the buildings. And this piece looks to be complete and is very, very cool. Some of these little statues of warriors are really cool because they have these really neat masks on, and they're in full regalia holding shields and fully adorned, and it's really kind of amazing to see these and wonder what they would have looked like had you been in the area at the time and suddenly these guys came running at you. So here is another example of one of the codices that remains today. This one's what's known as the Dresden Codex, because it's located in Dresden, Germany, and is considered one of the finest examples of the very few remaining codices from the Mayan Empire. If you can picture that there would have been thousands and thousands of these books in every city, these recorded history and stories and legends, and these were written on the inner bark from fig trees. And so they were able to kind of fan these out and have several pages open at one time to kind of read through these stories. As I mentioned in another video a while back, when it came time for the Spanish to arrive, most of these codices and stuff were burned. They were seen as sort of antithetical to the Christian religions, and they wanted to remove all this history from existence. So I believe, as it stands, there are only 5 or 6 remaining codices in the entire world.
Almost 1,000 years later, a Spanish explorer named Jose Calderon.
So one of the coolest pieces in this whole exhibit here at the museum is these funerary urns, which were amazingly well preserved. There's about a dozen of them here or so. Here's an example of what it would have looked like. So the body would have been placed inside, and then the cap would have been put on top. And here are some examples of some of those urns as they stand today, all adorned with different kinds of designs and decorations, different animals, different gods. This one here is actually the example from the drawing, and these are just really, really, really impressive. I'm going to take a few pictures as well from my camera because they also show up better with the colors on that camera. So this is a replica of the Popol Vuh book, which was written around 1550 by the Spanish, and it was a collection at the time of Mayan stories, Mayan history, and is one of the most important texts that still exists today, recounting some of that Mayan history. Because so many of the codices were destroyed, this book was an important reference for much of the Mayan history that was been able to be put together over time. The copy that sits here was actually donated by the Newberry Library of Chicago, which houses the oldest transcription made of this Quechuan text by Francisco Jimenez in the early 18th century. This section here is the colonial period, so this was after the Spanish arrived in 1524 through to 1821, and is more of a modernist look on much of the decoration that quickly became religious images for the Christian faith. So that is the end of the tour here at Popol Vuh at the University Museum. Really impressive collection that's here. Again, this was a private collection that was donated to the university, and it's really, really impressive to see. It is a much more academic look at things compared to the National Archaeological Museum, which we were at yesterday, but I think they're a good balance with each other, kind of showing those two sides to things. And there are many pieces in this collection that sit here in this museum that are just as impressive as anything else. Great spot, come and check it out. I was the only person here the entire time I walked through, and so it's nice to be able to kind of do it at your own pace. Watch some of the documentaries that are running, which are in English, interestingly enough, and all the signage that's here is in both English and Spanish. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of wander, read, kind of think about things, and it's a really cool spot. So definitely come and check it out if you're in Guatemala City. So I thought I'd give you a quick room review of where I stayed here in Guatemala City, which was a great spot. It was only, 2 or 3 blocks sort of from the main square. here in the city, up in Zone 1. And yeah, I had a great sleep and a great stay here. So this was the room that I had. Nice, very comfortable, thankfully. Double-sized bed, which was great for sleeping. Had a nice little place here to hang your clothes, and a desk here that I was able to work off of quite a bit, which was great. This room also comes with its own private bathroom. So in here, you can see obviously there's a shower head just behind the towel, and all the other usual things. Good hot water, so that was really nice. Wi-Fi here was really good. There's some shared space here too, kitchen and sort of living room area, which I'll show you in a second. And it was great. I was able to use the kitchen area for, making food or coffee or those types of things. It's fully stocked. And then the living room / dining room area was great as well. There's a nice table in there with some chairs and stuff. And overall a great experience. The host here is fantastic. He's super helpful, always attentive to your needs, and should anything come up, always available to help out. And let's go have a look at the shared space, and then we'll come back and talk about the price and contact information. So this was the shared area. There was like a dining table here and some chairs and stuff. Nice big TV here on the wall for watching movies, fully stocked for coffee and those types of things. Had this cool little collection of mementos and things that he's collected, and some more stuff over there. And then in through here was the kitchen space. So there was a full fridge, full stove, lots of different type of appliances, and yeah, lots of space for storing things also. So this place is great. I would definitely recommend it. I gather from Airbnb, it looks like it's pretty busy all the time, which is great for them. So keep that in mind if you're trying to book it and it suddenly shows it's not available. I think I just kind of happened to squeeze in a few days between some other rentals, so that was great. So I'll put the information here on the screen for this place. It worked out to about 160 Guatemalan quetzales per night, which is about $20 US. So, people keep asking me, where do you keep finding places for $15 or $20 a night? It's not that difficult. You just gotta kind of do your research and do a bit of legwork, and lots of deals to be had no matter where you are. And I would definitely recommend this place, and hope that if you're coming through Guatemala City to see some of the sites, you will check this place out as a place to stay. Good afternoon. I am just here in San Cristobal in Guatemala, and just about to finish up and head to El Salvador. I took the bus directly all the way down from Guatemala City this morning. Took about, 3.5 hours maybe, and was 100 quetzales to get here. But I'm just about to walk up here, get stamped out of Guatemala, and head into El Salvador.
A few moments later.
So that's it. We are done with Guatemala for the second time. Quick stamp out process. Just gotta walk up here now, get stamped in El Salvador, and we are on our way. I was able to exchange my last 100 quetzales, which got me $13 US here with one of the money changers. So we are good to go. Let's get up, get stamped in, and head on to Santa Ana, El Salvador. They fill out a form basically with the start and finish times. You date it and they stamp it, and you present this to the security at the front gate